So we are here today with Roger Langridge, writer of comics and other stuff. And we're mostly here today because we heard about Muppets Noir.
Roger,
sorry. I blanked out for a second there. I apologize. It's my fault.
Nice job on that opening there.
Yeah, right? I blew it big time.
I heard some dead air and I thought I better jump in.
Yeah. Great work there.
Sorry about that.
So
long day.
You've worked on Muppets many times before. This is your first time back on Muppets for quite some time, correct?
Yeah, I did a series for Boom Studios back around 2009 to 2011. And then there was the tail end of that was published by Marvel. And I haven't done any sort of straight Muppets since then. I did Jim Henson related stuff. I did a thing called The Musical Monsters of Turkey Hollow for Archaea in between. But this is the first time I've been back on the proper Muppets for a while.
So right out of the gate, how does Muppets Noir come about? Because Muppets and Noir just, as soon as we saw the title, so we work with Dynamite a bit. Right. Okay. So that we get to pick who we want to interview. Basically, they send us a list and they say, who from this list would you like to chat with? And let me tell you, when I saw Muppets Noir, I went right back and was like, I want Roger Langridge to talk about Muppets Noir, because that sounds like a really unique project, mixing those two together. So how did that come about?
Well, I was invited to pitch ideas for a new Muppet comic because Dynamite had the rights. So I initially just wanted to do the Muppet Show like I'd done for Boom. So that was the first thing I suggested. They didn't want to do that because they had something in the works. I think they've announced, since between the time we talked about that and now, they've announced that they're doing a Muppet Show special. So that must have been what it was. So they didn't want me to do that because they already had something in the works for that. So I started submitting other ideas. There was a Pigs in Space series. I didn't want to do that because it was too closely related to the Muppet Show.
Right.
There was I had an idea to do the history of theatre through the Muppets and do different genres of theatre as you went through time, basically. They didn't want to do that. So I just kept pitching ideas, and this went on for quite some time. And finally, I pitched Muppets Noir, and that was the one they wanted to go with. So, so I worked up something from that. But it took a while to get there, yeah. But I mean, once the two ideas came together, it seemed like a really good fit, you know.
So now, what without spoiling anything, of course, but what's the sort of basic premise behind Muppets Noir?
Well, it starts in the Muppet Theatre as we know it, you know. And Kermit is backstage. He's reading a pulp detective novel. And one of the acts gets a bit boisterous and Rick goes flying backstage and bonks Kermit on the head. So he's knocked unconscious. And while he's unconscious, he imagines himself in the world of the detective novel he's been reading. He imagines himself as this detective called Flip Minnow. And the world is black and white. And he's, the characters are in color. I would have, given my druthers, I would have loved to do the whole thing in black and white, but I don't think that was really an option. So the characters are color, but the world that they're in is in black and white.
Okay.
And all of the Muppet characters that you're familiar with are playing different roles in this story, this detective story. And the crux of that is that the character that Miss Piggy is playing, who is an heiress, a pie heiress, called Meringue. Pies, as in she's called Meringue Crustworth. And she's gone missing. So her aunt hires Flip Minnow to find her. Along the way, there's all the usual suspects. There's Officer O'Bear, who's played by Fozzie, who Kermit hangs out with quite a bit. Gonzini runs a nightclub with chickens, you can see where this is going.
Definitely. It sounds absolutely fantastic to me, to be honest with you. I think our generation is the Muppets are ingrained within us. We grew up watching the Muppet Show, and for a lot of us, the Muppet Show was the last thing we were allowed to watch.
Oh, it's like right before bed.
Go to bed at that. And I mean, I have a 23-year-old daughter, and she absolutely loves the Muppets. Like, she's been a Muppets fan her entire life. She's actually working in Disney right now. She cried when they closed the Muppet ride, but she's a huge Muppet fan, and that's. This just seems so much fun as a read and as a story. How many issues are you getting out of this?
There's an initial run of 4 issues, and hopefully, if it does well, there might be some more. But that'll depend on how well it goes, I guess.
Right.
So everyone out there should start putting it on their pull list.
100%. It comes out the beginning of February, right? First week in February?
February 18th, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody watching, update your pull lists right now. Yeah, I've got it on there.
I certainly did. I can't wait for it. I love the Muppets, and just the mixture seems like such a perfect.
And they're having a moment right now because they just announced, Disney just announced that they're going to do that one episode, like as a sort of trial thing with the Muppet Show, where they're going to bring it back for like one episode with Sabrina Carpenter and then see where it goes. So yeah, they're having kind of a moment because online you see a lot of people talking very happy about them returning in this way.
I think this year is actually the 50th anniversary of the Muppet Show, the first episode. So yeah, that's probably part of it as well. You know, they're pushing things out for the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
That would make sense for us. 50 years of the Muppets.
50 years.
Yeah, we were little when that.
Yeah, I mean, I only remember the like sort of the end of the run.
Yeah, of course, because we were little. Yeah. How has your approach to the Muppets changed since you first started writing for Boom throughout Marvel and now with Dynamite?
Well, the fundamentals haven't changed, I don't think. I'm trying to sort of just capture the characters as well as I can. The nature of the story, the Muppets Noir story, I mean, it's more of a narrative than the Muppet Show comic book was, which was more of a collection of sketches with like a loose story holding it together. Although I'm trying to get some of that sketch energy into the Muppets Noir as well. There's you know, an excuse to do musical numbers. I've managed to work that in, things like that. So and some of the characters get their own little bits. So yeah, hopefully that's I'm striking a balance between those things. But yeah, I mean, as far as the fundamentals go, it's putting a pair of old shoes back on, I guess.
It must feel nice and comfortable though for you then.
Yeah.
So
perhaps a glove puppet is a better metaphor.
Yeah. A comfortable glove puppet.
What's your background with the Muppets? Like growing up, you're from Australia, correct?
I'm from New Zealand originally. And I moved to London in the early 90s because I wanted to be a cartoonist. And New Zealand was the population is too small to sustain a comic book industry. So if you want to do that for a living, you have to leave the country, or at least you did then. I think that was pre-internet, so it's different now. But my history with the Muppets was watching them when I was growing up, really. I mean, I watched the Muppet Show when it was first broadcast. They got that in New Zealand. I think maybe slightly later, maybe a year or so later, because everything was a bit later in New Zealand. You had to actually ship physical tapes across the world to do that now in those days. But yeah, I watched the show, and that whole, you know, the vaudeville energy of it really beguiled me. It's why I'm sort of, I think why a lot of the comics that I've done in the years since have been set in that world, you know, not just the Muppet Show, but some of my own characters as well. It was the first time I'd heard of a lot of these old Hollywood stars who popped up on it, like Gene Kelly, for example. And some of the comedians that I loved, like Spike Milligan and Peter Sellers, were guest stars on it as well. So that was also a way in. With the Spike Milligan episode, I actually recorded off air on a miniature tape recorder the soundtrack and played it back. So I was really into it at the time.
And it's funny. There's a whole new generation that's sort of now re-experiencing it via Disney Plus here in the United States, and you have Disney Plus there too. But your Disney Plus is a little different than ours. But you have rated R movies on your Disney Plus. We don't have.
They have a lot of more.
Or what are they called? Rated 18. Yeah. All right. By you, or 15? I forget what it is.
We don't have Disney Plus, but
oh, you don't have Disney Plus? Okay.
Well, our house personally doesn't. I mean,
right?
But yeah.
But there's a whole new generation sort of re-experiencing these characters now. And it's funny, I had an opportunity, just thinking of what you were just saying, Gene Kelly. I went back and watched the first episode, which the guest star was Joel Grey, and it was amazing, like, to watch, because it was almost the time capsule of a moment where, like, these Broadway entertainers were almost movie stars, and they would do these shows, and there was these sort of great experience of, like, song and dance and all this great stuff. Like you said, it's probably the closest thing we'll ever experience to what vaudeville must have been like.
Yeah.
That whole sort of, you never quite know what you're going to get. There's this sort of chaotic feel to it all. I have a good friend who is a podcaster and does a Muppets podcast. And one of her questions to anybody who's ever on is, who is your favorite Muppet? So how would you answer that question?
Well, it changes depending on what day it is. I as far as writing goes, I really enjoy writing Miss Piggy because she's so much subtext with occasional outbursts of text. She's just really fun to write. To draw, I quite enjoy the really sort of gnarly looking ones like Gonzo and Uncle Deadly. They're fun. They're just lots of nooks and crannies. But yeah, I mean, it changes from day to day. It might be Bunsen and Beaker tomorrow.
Yeah, right. I think as a teacher, I identify as Kermit because you're trying to keep the ship going straight.
Yeah. I can see
you're
that.
Just surrounded by maniacs.
Chaos.
Yeah.
You have to control the chaos. It's funny that you said Miss Piggy because my daughter who's down in Disney, she recently attended her actual favorite thing. It's the only thing she's doing the college program. They had a Muppets, like an introduction to the Muppets. So the Muppets actually came to them. And she actually made her cry because they ended up singing the Rainbow Connection with Kermit. Yeah. But they bring the Muppets out, and all the Muppets come out in like these bags, let's say, and they pull the Muppets out of the bags and they do the voices. And Miss Piggy comes out in like this specially designed box, and they take care of her so much more so than they take care of any of the Muppets. Because she was like, "This is like right from the start." And there's only 6 of them that do the voices for that.
Yeah, it's a very small cast. Yeah, it is. And they've kept the same for as long as possible. Yeah.
It's such a good. I mean, it's just such a good thing.
It's a great property.
It's a great property.
Well beloved,
Now, what did you do? What have you been doing between the Muppets? So when you finished the Muppets at Marvel and now you're back again with Dynamite, what other projects went on between there?
I've done quite a few things. I did off the top of my head, I did a Bill and Ted series with Evan Dorkin for Dark Horse in 2020. Okay. That was fun. I wrote a few issues of The Goon for Eric Powell. I have been working on quite a bit of my own stuff. I've done a graphic novel with my character Fred the Clown called The Iron Duchess, which was sort of based on a Buster Keaton film. Not based on it, but inspired by his films. What else? I've done
Sorry, did you won an Eisner for the Fred the Clown, right?
I was nominated for an Eisner. Yeah,
Okay.
No, I won an Eisner for Snarked, which is what I did immediately after the Muppet Show. That was set in the world of Lewis Carroll, basically the further adventures of the Walrus and the Carpenter. So there was that. Lots of things. So freelance illustration as well. I mean, I've done quite a bit of illustration work for Doctor Who magazine here in the UK. I wrote The Rocketeer for a bit. I love The Rocketeers. I think he's such an underrated character. Like everyone here, stateside anyway, thinks of him from the film. But there's so much more to the character than that. It's a shame that I wish they could get another shot at it. I don't know if Disney still owns him or whatever, but I'm not sure where the film rights are these days. But,
I wouldn't even know. A long time. He hasn't been in anything in a long time. But you worked with Evan Dorkin, you said.
We'd met at I think it was Heroes Con, right? Maybe SPX. I think we've been at both of those shows, so it could have been either. But we'd met a few times. We've been on panels together. Usually, when they do a panel about funny comics, it's usually me and Evan Dorkin.
We live not far from him. He's not far from us right now.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway,
we got along well, and we had a lot of the same influences, and we're both really into Kurtzman and Elder and that sort of thing. So we expressed an interest in working with one another at some point, and then the Bill and Ted thing came up, and Evan was already on board as the writer, and I was asked to draw it, so I said yes, please. I had to do some homework there because I'd never actually seen the films of the Bill and Ted films. But But I'm in good company there because I think Evan says that he hasn't seen the first one yet either. He's only seen the second one, or at that time he'd only seen the second one. So yeah, I did my homework. I got the videos and got the DVDs and watched them, and that was fun. I really enjoyed that, and it came during the pandemic as well. So it was nice to have some work during the pandemic because not everybody was so lucky.
Yeah, we've had him on the show. Evan is a famous local person.
For us.
For us. He's on Staten Island, and Evan he became very famous for his series about Staten Island.
Yeah, he had something called the Eltingville Club years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a good person.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, you mentioned Buster Keaton there when you were talking about Fred the Clown.
Yeah.
What would you, let's say someone out there is watching this and doesn't know who Buster Keaton is. What film of his would you recommend to somebody to get them into him?
I think a couple of his shorts are probably the way in. The very first short he did was called 1 Week, and that is just a beautifully constructed piece of work. It's great gags all through and a spectacular ending that just blindsides you and makes you laugh out loud. Cops is another one. It's kind of dark at the end, but there's loads of really just clever stuff. I mean, he was a brilliant gag creator. He was a brilliant stunt man. He invented a lot of stunts that people are still using today. Just his acting style was very modern, in that he didn't play it like he was on stage. You know, his restraint was a big part of his performance, and it worked. It was so good for film, and he was one of the first people to do that on film, because in those days everybody was still sort of, they come from the stage essentially. They were still acting larger than life.
broader, bigger. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so you would say 1 week, and then the other is Cops. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Off the shorts. Yeah. And if you like those, then jump around.
Then you're in.
There's loads. Yeah.
Now, is Buster Keaton the one has the famous stunt with the house falling and he's standing exactly where the window falls? Yeah.
Yes, he did that in 1 week. And then he did it again in Steamboat Bill Jr. He did it on a much bigger scale than Steamboat Bill Jr., but he's done it, multiple times. Yeah.
That's a terrifying stunt to watch.
Yes.
You watch it and you're just, every single time, you're like, oh, God, that must have been so scary. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen it many times.
The second time he did it, in Steamboat Bill Jr., he was really, really depressed, and he really didn't care whether he lived or died, as he tells it. That's his story. He was... The reason he looked so relaxed about it is because he was just, very blasé about the whole thing. But he got away with it,
Whatever.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah. No, his marriage was breaking down at the time, and he was heavy. He was drinking heavily.
Didn't
there's like the seed of a story in there, like a story about a depressed stuntman who doesn't care if he lives or dies. Okay. Like that would be a very funny. If you would think about it, that could be a very funny story.
That's what very depressing story.
Like just keeps doing like these more and more outrageous stunts.
There you go.
Like the Fall Guy, but like with a dark edge.
Right. There was a strip that was suggested by a British cartoonist, Ken Reid, for I think he was going to do a gag strip for something in the 70s, maybe 2000 AD or something like that. But his idea was a character who's trying to commit suicide every week and fails, and that was like the engine of the strip. But they reckon they couldn't do that. It was going to be in a kids comic, and they thought, maybe not.
See, that's funny. I thought 2000. What I know of 2000 AD is I feel like they would do that.
Well, I think they would now. But in those days, it was still aimed at kids very much.
Right.
So that's a tough one. Now, what was your journey in comic books? So you grew up in New Zealand. What was collecting comics and reading comic books like there?
Well, there was there was an independent comics scene. There were people making comics in New Zealand, but not for money. But there were zines and small scale printed magazines. There was an anthology called Strips, which featured Colin Wilson, who went on to work for 2000 AD and DC and European comics. He did Blueberry for a while. He was one of them. And there was a guy called Barry Linton who is no longer with us, but he did these fantastic stories about basically about Pacific Island life with a really fantastic style, very sexy, very funny.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of really good cartoonists. None of them could make a living. So we had those, but they were aimed at more an older audience. So when I was a kid, I was reading Australian reprints, essentially, of Marvel and DC and Disney. The Marvel and DC stuff was printed in black and white, in these usually quite thick, chunky anthologies. So I got to see
what did they call them? Because we are very interested. Different countries had different names for what they called those, and it was hard for you to follow stories, right? Because it would be, you would pull a Fantastic Four and Amazing Spider-Man, and then next month you may not have the continuation of that.
They were usually okay about that, but every so often they dropped the ball. But there was things that they were called like Bumper Bat Comic and Superman Super Comic. So you'd have like all of the Superman titles for a particular month all collected into one, between two covers. And they had, odd names like Mighty Comic and Tip Top Comic, with no relation to what was inside, but they just sort of shove a Batman story and a Flash story in there or whatever. The Marvel stuff was a bit more organized. They tended to print those in chronological order because I think certainly in the 70s continuity was more important
absolutely
for the Marvel books. Yeah, so you get that they were called the same as they were called in America. They were Amazing Spider-Man or whatever it might be, but usually like 3 issues to a magazine. And all in black and white, as I say. So it was really good as a cartoonist, as an aspiring cartoonist, to actually study the artwork. It was much clearer. You could see what the artist was doing much more, because the printing, and certainly in the 70s, was quite muddy and quite hard to read sometimes.
Yes.
Whereas with the black and white stuff, it was, you could really pick it apart.
Yeah. It's funny because you just reminded me, there's a story that John Toddleman used to tell. That actually wasn't John Toddleman. It was I think Brian Michael Bendis told it about John Toddleman, and he said when he saw Toddleman doing the Swamp Thing illustrations that he was doing in the 80s, they were like these really amazingly detailed in black and white. But then once they got printed and colored, it lost all detail. And he asked Toddleman, like, why did you put so much work into it? And he said Toddleman looked at him like he was out of his mind. Like, what? Why wouldn't I put that much work into it? I want it because it's beautiful. Like, But when you see it in black and white, it's a different animal completely.
I think Titan in the UK first printed them in black and white. They did these paperbacks where it was all in black and white, and I think Vertigo did a black and white edition a few years later.
Yes.
So because obviously he was right. It does look gorgeous.
Why wouldn't I?
So what artists influenced you then? So if you're reading American comics when you were a kid and you've seen them in black and white, what artists really helped guide you to where you are today?
Well, one of the ones that I was really into, I've already mentioned, Ken Reed, his name was. He did quite funny but gruesome looking things. I mean, he was sort of like our Basil Wolverton. These kind of really funny but grotesque characters. So that was a big influence. He was being published in the British weeklies like Buster and Whizzer and Chips. They had these outlandish names. And another guy, Leo Baxendale, did these things in a comic called Monster Fun called the Bad Time Bedtime books, which were adaptations of fairy tales, but really sort of rambunctious and with loads of background gags and little signs and things. A little bit like Will Elder did in Mad. All these kind of background gags the whole time, really dense. So that was fun. And a little bit later, when I started getting into Mad, they were reprinting the original 50s stuff. So I got to see Will Elder and Wally Wood and Jack Davis and those guys. So they all went in the mix. And when I was about 13, I discovered E.C. Segar. That was when the Robert Altman Popeye movie came out. So there was quite a lot of Popeye stuff around at the time.
Yes.
And I picked up this 50-year anniversary book of Popeye, and it had quite a lot of modern Popeye stuff, but it also had quite a lot of Segar, and that blew my mind. That became a really big obsession for me. it was really tantalizing because there was just enough to whet my appetite, but not enough to actually satisfy it. So
so you had to go out and search.
And sort of invent what I thought it would be like in my head, which I think is where the influence comes in, because I'm sort of creating this sort of idealized version of it in my head and trying to get that down on paper. And the Smithsonian Book of Newspaper Comics was a big influence on me a few years later. That was where I saw more of the Popeye stuff, but also loads and loads of these other cartoonists that I still love to this day.
No, they're fantastic.
No, I never.
Absolutely fantastic. So Smithsonian, I have two upstairs.
I didn't know about these.
That I picked up in a used bookstore ways back. They're really absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, really? I mean, it's like if you want to know where everybody who you love now came from, they can all be traced back through their influences to those books, to the people who are represented in those books.
Yeah, they're really well done.
Are they still in print?
No, I do not believe so. I bought it at a used bookstore for, it wasn't expensive, but and I went and looked for more. They can be expensive.
Yeah, I think nowadays they're quite scarce. So
I got lucky. Where did you buy your comics though? Then, like, where was?
Well, it was newsstands, really, to begin with. We got a dedicated comic book shop when I was in my late teens in Auckland. And that was a revelation, because that would have been in the early 80s. So,
same here.
Well, mid 80s maybe.
Yeah.
So I got to see for the first time things like Cerebus and Pacific Comics and Eclipse Comics. The stuff that Kirby and Ditko were doing for those guys, and there was a real sort of explosion of creator-owned, creator-led stuff at that time, which was a big influence on how I think about the business side of comics. Really,
yes,
it's a big thing to have control of your work. And you see how many of the people you idolized when you were a kid were broken by the business. It's frustrating and sad, but these days you have the options. You can get things on the internet, or you can self-publish, or you can do Kickstarters. I mean, you can control your material if you want to. Sometimes there's a trade-off with reach. You don't necessarily get your work as widely disseminated, but sometimes that's an acceptable trade-off.
Right. If you get to control what you're doing, as opposed to people who are treated just absolutely awfully in the older days of comics. From the inside of things, do you think things are better for creators now than they used to be?
I don't know about better. I think you have different options, but not all of those options are things you can make a living off. I mean, I think swings and roundabouts. There was a time when you would sell everything, you sell the rights to everything you did, and you wouldn't get to keep any of your artwork, but you would have regular work, and you could buy a house on what you were earning. And now you can control what you're doing, and maybe for the individual pages you're doing, you'll get paid a lot more, but you're not getting regular work in the same way. And so it's very much what is given with one hand is taken away with another.
Right. And is that maybe one of the things that, like, as far as international competition goes, because like literally the industry is now global. It isn't like if you're an artist in New York or London, you're not just competing with other New York artists or other London artists. You're now competing with people in Brazil and Italy and Argentina, like all over the place. So maybe you think that might be a side effect of that?
Well, I think there's, certainly globalization of the whole world is certainly a part of that, but I think that's been going on for a while. But I mean, in the 1970s, they were using Filipino artists a lot.
That's true. Yeah.
It's and
all the Spanish artists they brought over for heavy metal.
And in 2000 AD, they were using a lot of Spanish artists as well. Chuck Shredder was created by a Spanish artist.
Yes, Carlo Esguerra.
So it's been going on a while. I don't know. I think it's probably easier to work long distance now, so that's changed the landscape a bit.
So now, are you working on anything else besides Muppets Noir right now that you have coming up?
Right now, well, I've just finished doing a short story for a a new a relaunch of Deadline magazine. It's been relaunched as A1 Deadline. They did a Kickstarter a few months ago. So I've got a couple of pages in the first issue, the special that they've done the Kickstarter for. And the Kickstarter did really well, so they're hoping to do more of them. So I've done a 5-page story with a character of mine called the Fez. And that is going to be in the next one, assuming that will, assuming the next Kickstarter is successful.
Yeah.
But I've done the work. I'm working on a Fred the Clown story, a long form Fred the Clown story on my Patreon at the moment. I'm doing like a page and a half a week, just plodding away at that. Every so often I self-publish an issue of my one-man anthology called Zoot. I try and self-publish at least one thing a year. For a while I was doing diary strips on the internet and on my Patreon, and I would collect those into a book every year. I did that for 5 years. But I stopped doing that when my kids moved. My son moved to Paris because he's studying animation there. So, we've got a lot less going on at home now. So there's a lot less to write about. So I thought it was time to put a lid on that. So I got back to doing more Fred the Clown stories and other personal projects. I did a Fez story on my Patreon as well last year, and I finished a graphic novel about, I suppose graphic novella is quite short, but it's about the worst poet who ever lived, a guy called William McGonagall, he was a real person. He lived in Dundee in the 19th century, and he wrote, the research was a bit tricky because he wrote 5 autobiographies and they all contradict one another. But there's a couple of decent books about him, so I use those as primary sources, really. But there's sorry.
I'm sorry. Is he the writer who wrote "It Was a Dark and Stormy Night" with the gunshot?
No, he's worse. He's worse.
That's a different. Okay, he's worse than worse. Okay.
His specialty was writing about disasters. If a bridge was falling down, or there was a storm at sea and people were going to die, he'd run down and get his pen out and start writing. He lived in poverty for most of his life, basically earning a living from printing pamphlets and selling them, and going around pubs and begging. And he was widely acknowledged as the worst poet who ever lived. So the story I did for my comic was about when he went to London to seek his fortune. He, through a long and complicated series of circumstances, which I relate in the comic, he managed to come across enough money to take a trip. And he assumed that once he hit the London stage, he'd be rich and famous. And of course, the whole trip ended in disaster, and he came back with his tail between his legs. But it's a fun story on the way.
Where can people get that? Where can people find that?
Well, it's on my Patreon. It's also, I serialized it in the anthology that I was talking about, Zoot, which is available on my web store. Although I'm not, I haven't been shipping to America recently for complicated reasons.
Yeah, we know.
Yeah, we get it.
We got you.
But if you sign up to my Patreon, you get PDFs of all those comics, so you can read them that way.
Cool.
That's good.
Because you may have introduced me to my new favorite writer. Go and find this.
You should go and find it.
Right?
Sounds like right up your alley.
Right? Like the guy who has more than one copy of Skate Man.
There you go. Roger, do you know Skate Man?
You ever hear of Skate Man?
I'm aware of the work, yes.
Oh.
Brian has 5 copies already.
No, only 2. I have 2 copies.
He's in competition with another friend of ours on how many copies they can. It's
definitely not the worst comic book I've ever read, but the fact that it's Neil Adams is absolutely shocking. Like that's the thing that makes it crazy. I think I actually read the worst comic recently I've ever read.
What was that?
The Warrior #1.
Oh,
about the Ultimate Warrior from wrestling.
You know, the Ultimate Warrior is from wrestling.
Wow.
I'm not familiar. No.
Okay.
From the 1980s.
He was a professional wrestler, and he wrote a comic about his character in professional wrestling in the mid 90s. And it's illustrated in that very 90s. Image kind of early image style where everyone is gigantic. And and the writing is just
the Ultimate Warrior had
incomprehensible.
He had trouble speaking. Like he spoke on wrestling incoherently. Like you wouldn't understand what he was saying.
That was word salad.
He wrote a book. He wrote a comic book about
And you're like, oh, it wasn't the character.
No,
it was him.
It was about. Now, do you have any appearances booked coming up this year?
I usually do a number of the conventions in Britain. I do the Lakes Festival normally. I do Thought Bubble normally. I've applied to a couple of others that I haven't heard back about yet. I'm definitely doing Mac Pow, which is in Macclesfield in June. And I'm doing a signing for Muppets Noir in London on the 21st of February at Gosh Comics.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure that's happening. I mean, we're currently working that out, but yeah, that should be happening.
You don't travel. You don't travel over the pond.
I haven't for a while. It's been a few years. Last time I was over there was would have been 2016, I think. So yeah, I haven't been back
since.
A
while. 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. We do a lot of conventions here in the States.
Well, the East Coast, yeah, it's full of stuff. Yeah,
East Coast.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say something, and then I realized I probably shouldn't. Yeah,
what were you going to say?
Something about 2016 and the reason to stop traveling, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
Please
don't.
Yeah. I can fill in the blanks. Yes, and you're probably right. Yes,
most people can fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
So, if someone is just hearing about Muppets Noir for the first time, how would you sell them on that they should buy Muppets Noir?
It should be fun.
It will definitely
put a lot
be
of work into it. It's characters you love doing stuff that's fun and funny. There's a bit of heart to it. There's definitely a nice emotional climactic ending. So yeah, it should push all those buttons.
Nice.
Yeah.
And most characters are going to be in it, so you're covering most of the really
all your
Muppets.
favorites from the Muppet Show will be there. And a few of the later ones. I mean, Rizzo's got a part in it.
These days you can't leave Rizzo out.
Yeah.
What's Animal's part?
He's well, there is a band in the nightclub.
So there is.
So yeah. So the whole band are represented.
That's good. All right, that's
great.
good.
The Electric Mayhem.
The Electric Mayhem is becoming very popular right now. So
and Rizzo is like Rizzo, and who's the prawn?
Pepe. Yeah, he pops up. Yeah,
huge character all of a sudden.
Yeah,
everyone loves him.
That's Muppets are.
I'm not sure he was there when I was a kid.
He was not.
He wasn't.
No, I think
he's
they're
from
both
one of the movies. He's from the movies, right?
Post Henson, aren't they? I
think
they're
both from the movies.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't even sure.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. And you have all 4 issues done already, or
yeah, they're all written and drawn. We're waiting on some notes for before they're published, but the first one is ready to go. It should be on schedule. So,
that's good. How does that work with notes? Do you go to someone at Henson? Do they have Disney?
Well, I get a script. When I'm writing, I get a script with lots of notes on it, and I have to. I don't know who all the notes are from. Disney and Henson both have a look at it, and then there's loads and loads of annotations that I have to incorporate. And then after I've drawn it, that has to be approved as well, and that comes back with more notes. So there will be art changes on what I've already drawn. Still to do. They're all done for the first issue. That's all clear. Okay. It's been done for a couple of months, but the rest of them are still waiting on feedback. So shouldn't be anything major. I can't imagine anything because it's the scripts have all been approved and everything. So
and
it should be just details.
You're not really dealing with the Muppets, like modern day. You're writing a story outside of their
it's a fantasy story,
continuity, right? So
I mean, at the beginning, it's set in the current Muppet continuity in that they're in the Muppet Theatre,
right?
And, But yeah, once it goes into Kermit's fantasy, then it's its own thing.
So are you allowed to kill Muppets in the Muppet Noir?
No, because it's for a general audience. So
there you go.
I've got to be fairly.
It is a noir. I figure that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not like Brian has a Weller,
because there wasn't an obvious way to do it. But,
right.
Yeah. But you find ways to make it work.
That's right at the top. You cannot kill a Muppet.
Yeah. It's more of an aesthetic thing. It's not exactly, Kermit's not a lonely knight in a fallen world. But, it's not hard drinking and broken.
Right. It's not like Garth Ennis wrote it. It's
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. It sounded like it again, like I said earlier, it was the project that really stood out from the list.
It jumped out the list.
From. I said, that's right there is where we want to go. Muppet Noir sounds like, So it's going to be something a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
listen, thank you
Delighted
so
to hear
much for taking the time.
Thank you for talking to us.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
You ever want to come back on? Let us know if you're going to take the Muppets in a whole bunch of different directions. That would be great. I'm thinking Muppets horror, but whatever.
Again, general audiences.
I know. I'm
Well,
kidding.
if I can do it with noir, I can probably find a way to do it with
do
horror.
it horror. You can make it.
It's true. Those old Dracula movies are probably G-rated at this point.
You can make it some kind of.
Like the Bela Lugosi one isn't.
Yeah. Turn all the Muppets into Universal monsters.
Oh, that's a good one.
Thank you.
That is a good one.
Too. But Roger, really, thank you. Anytime you want to come back on, you are more than welcome. We really appreciate it.
Before we go, though,
Thank you.
anybody watching should check out your Patreon.
Yep.
So we're looking at patreon.com/Roger Langridge.
Link will be in the description.
I use the phrase Hotel Fred for all my social media. So that's because of my character Fred the Clown. My first website was called Hotel Fred, and I've just sort of stuck with the name. So Hotel Fred on Blue Sky and Instagram, Patreon Hotel Fred, and hotelfred.com for my website. So if you go to that website, you should find everything.
That's great. There you go. And buy everything and
get everything.
Put Muppets Noir on your pull list.
Yeah.
And make sure you don't miss an issue because we certainly won't.
No, I'm not going to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for everything.
We'll see you soon.
And again, anytime you want to come back.
Anytime. You're welcome anytime. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.